For eons the galaxy shared one unbreakable law: do not disturb the humans. No one knew why, until one reckless species decided to find out. Yet for all the chaos and ambition, one rule bound the galaxy together, a single, unspoken commandment: don't wake the humans. This wasn't a mere suggestion. It wasn't a diplomatic courtesy or a relic of ancient superstition. It was an absolute. A law etched into the collective consciousness of the galactic community. For thousands of years, it stood unbroken. The reasons behind it were whispered in hushed tones. Legends spoke of the humans as titans from a bygone era. Stories of their rise, their wars, and their unparalleled technology were treated as myths. But myths have a way of holding truths too terrifying to ignore. For most of the galaxy, humanity was nothing more than a long-forgotten name. The humans had vanished eons ago, retreating to their homeworld, Earth. Encased in an impenetrable field of self-imposed isolation, their planet became a silent fortress. A crypt of infinite stillness. No messages. No ships. No signs of life. They had put themselves to sleep, some said. Others believed they'd transcended, leaving behind only their world as a monument to their power. Whatever the case, one thing was clear: Earth was not to be disturbed. But rules are made to be broken. The Krells didn't care about the old stories. To them, the warnings were nothing more than archaic superstition. Their empire was young, hungry, and desperate. Their home systems were failing, their people starving. When their long-range scanners detected Earth's coordinates, they didn't see a forbidden planet. They saw salvation. The Krells were scavengers by nature. Their species had thrived by picking apart the ruins of older, mightier civilizations. And Earth was a treasure trove, a goldmine of resources and advanced technology left untouched for millennia. Its defenses were dormant. Its people asleep. The Krells saw an opportunity. They didn't stop to ask why no one else had taken it. They didn't wonder why Earth had been left alone while the rest of the galaxy fell to war and ruin. They only saw a prize. Their fleet arrived in the Sol system with little fanfare. They crept past the asteroid belt, scanning for signs of resistance. There was none. No automated drones. No warning beacons. No orbital defenses. Earth floated in the void like a sleeping beast, serene and unguarded. The Krells descended, their ships blotting out the stars as they pierced through Earth's atmosphere. They landed in what had once been called New York City. Skyscrapers jutted toward the sky like ancient monoliths, their glass facades cracked but still standing. The Krells marveled at the ruins, their claws scraping across the remnants of human civilization. They began their excavation immediately. Crews spread across the planet, digging into its crust, unearthing artifacts, and stripping the land of its riches. For weeks they worked without incident. And then they found it. Buried deep beneath the surface, hidden within the remains of a forgotten bunker, the Krells stumbled upon something they couldn't comprehend. A vast chamber, its walls lined with strange symbols and glowing panels. At its center stood a massive stasis pod, pulsing faintly with energy. The Krell scientists couldn't resist. They activated the pod, their curiosity overriding their caution. As the machinery roared to life, a low hum echoed through the bunker, growing louder and louder until it shook the ground beneath their feet. The first human opened their eyes. Across Earth, dormant systems awoke. Cities lit up as ancient power grids surged to life. Satellites, long thought dead, began transmitting signals across the cosmos. And deep within the planet's core, an intelligence older than the stars stirred from its slumber. The Krells had broken the rule. And humanity was awake. What followed would change the galaxy forever. The galaxy had never seen anything like it. As Earth's ancient systems roared back to life, the Krells stood frozen, caught between awe and terror. The skies above New York turned to fire as long-dormant defense satellites ignited, scanning the invaders with cold, mechanical precision. A low, resonant hum vibrated through the air, a sound that seemed to reach into the Krell's very bones. Then came the message. It wasn't in Krellian. It wasn't in any of the 1,000 languages spoken across the galaxy. It was in an older tongue, one long buried and forgotten. Yet every Krell understood it, not with their minds but with something deeper, more primal. You were warned. The Krells scrambled to respond, their command ships barking orders in panic. Their scavenging mission had suddenly become a fight for survival. But survival against what? The humans? They were nothing more than stories. Extinct gods from a forgotten age. And yet here they were, awake, aware, and watching. The first strike came without warning. A single beam of light lanced down from the heavens, striking the Krell flagship as it hovered over Earth's surface. For a moment the ship seemed untouched. Then, in the blink of an eye, it disintegrated into a cloud of molten debris. No explosions. No dramatic chain reaction. Just silent annihilation. The Krell fleet erupted into chaos. Fighters scrambled, defensive shields flared to life, and weapon systems locked onto the source of the attack. But there was nothing to target. No ships. No orbital platforms. No signs of life. Just Earth, spinning silently below them as if mocking their fear. On the surface, the Krells who had landed fared no better. The city around them, once a lifeless ruin, had transformed into a battlefield. Streets cracked open as drones emerged from hidden silos, their sleek forms bristling with weapons far beyond anything the Krells had ever seen. The ruins themselves seemed to shift and move, as though the city were alive, reshaping itself to trap the invaders. And then the humans came. They weren't what the Krells expected. These weren't frail beings, groggy from centuries of slumber. They were towering figures clad in armor that shimmered like liquid metal. Their movements were impossibly fast, their precision ruthless. And their eyes, those cold, unyielding eyes, burned with an intensity that sent a chill through the Krell's very cores. The first humans spoke, their voice amplified by some unseen technology. "You have trespassed on sacred ground," they said, their tone calm but unyielding. "You were given one rule. You chose to ignore it. Now you will understand why it existed." The Krells, desperate and cornered, opened fire. Streams of plasma bolts and energy projectiles rained down on the humans. But the attacks were useless. The humans moved like phantoms, dodging with impossible ease. Their armor absorbed the hits as if the weapons were toys. Then the counterattack began. The humans didn't rely on brute force. They didn't need to. Instead, they turned the Krell's own technology against them. Ships lost control of their systems, crashing into one another as human-crafted viruses spread like wildfire through their networks. Ground forces found their weapons useless as their power cells were drained by some invisible force. Panic turned to despair. Despair turned to chaos. And all the while, the humans advanced, relentless and unyielding. The Krell commanders, now fully aware of their mistake, sent a desperate message to their homeworld. They begged for reinforcements, pleaded for help. But the response came too late. Back on their home planet, Krellian leaders watched in horror as their systems began to fail. Communications, power grids, even basic life support. It was as if the humans weren't just fighting the Krells on Earth. They were waging war across the stars. And they were winning. The Krells had broken the rule. Now the galaxy would pay the price. The galaxy didn't have time to react. The Krell invasion of Earth, though catastrophic for their empire, was only the beginning. Humanity had awakened, and they were not content to simply defend their home. The moment their systems came back online, ancient protocols were executed. Forgotten technologies, dormant for eons, reactivated across the Sol system. The humans weren't just preparing for war, they were preparing for conquest. Earth's moon became a staging ground, its surface crawling with towering automated factories producing ships at a pace that defied logic. Mars, long silent, shimmered with activity as ancient weapon platforms emerged from beneath its crimson sands. Even the asteroid belt became a weapon, its rocks transformed into kinetic bombardments capable of annihilating entire fleets. But it was the humans themselves who struck the most fear into the galaxy. The Krells had underestimated them, assuming they were a species of the past, their glory days long gone. What they didn't understand was that humanity had never been defeated. They had chosen to sleep, to retreat not out of weakness but as a calculated move. Their records, now decrypted by the Krells, revealed the truth. Humanity had fought the entire galaxy once before, and they had won. The Krell homeworld was the first to fall. It began with silence. No warnings. No grand declarations of war. One moment, the Krell capital was a bustling metropolis. The next, its skies darkened as human warships emerged from hyperspace, their black hulls absorbing light like voids in the fabric of reality. The Krell defense fleet scrambled to intercept, but their ships barely had time to launch before humanity struck. It wasn't a conventional battle. The humans didn't fire volleys of plasma or hurl missiles. Instead, they used weapons the galaxy couldn't even comprehend. Massive beams of energy lanced out, not destroying the Krell ships but disassembling them on a molecular level. Crews found themselves floating in the void as their vessels were deconstructed around them. On the ground, the Krell military bases were dismantled in seconds, their infrastructure collapsing into piles of raw material. The humans broadcast one simple message across the Krell communications network. "Your debt is paid." The rest of the galaxy watched in stunned silence. For centuries they had believed humanity was gone, a relic of a forgotten past. Now they were forced to confront the truth. And the truth was terrifying. Humanity wasn't just a species, they were a force of nature. The other galactic powers scrambled to prepare. Emergency meetings were held. Alliances were forged. But it was all too little, too late. Humanity didn't wait for the galaxy to organize. They struck with precision and ruthlessness, dismantling fleets, disabling entire planetary defense systems, and capturing strategic strongholds without ever giving their enemies a chance to fight back. Yet, for all their power, humanity's actions weren't chaotic. They weren't driven by rage or vengeance. Everything they did was calculated, deliberate. Each strike served a purpose. Each victory brought them closer to their ultimate goal, a galaxy united under their control. On the fringes of the galaxy, in the shadow of a dying star, the Galactic Council convened for the first time in millennia. The representatives of the major powers, empires that had ruled for tens of thousands of years, gathered to discuss their survival. The humans hadn't attacked them yet, but they knew it was only a matter of time. "They are unlike anything we've ever faced," said the Zurian ambassador, her voice trembling. "They don't conquer, they consume. They dismantle what they don't need and repurpose what they do. We cannot fight them." The room fell silent. Then from the shadows a voice spoke. It belonged to a being so old, its species had been considered extinct until this very moment. "You cannot fight them," the ancient said, its voice a low rumble. "But you can survive. Surrender. Offer them what they want. They have no desire to destroy you, only to bring order." "Order?" the Krell representative spat. "You call this order? They've wiped out my entire species." The ancient turned its glowing eyes toward the Krell. "They gave you a warning. You ignored it. The rest of us should learn from your mistake." But even as the council debated their next move, humanity was already on the march. Their ships, now numbering in the thousands, spread like wildfire across the galaxy. Each planet they visited was given the same message: surrender and join humanity's new order, or face annihilation. Most chose to surrender. Those who didn't, disappeared. As the galaxy teetered on the brink of total domination, one question remained: what was humanity's true purpose? Why had they chosen to awaken now, after so many millennia of silence? The answer was coming. And it would change everything. The galaxy had never been so unified in fear. The question echoed in every council chamber, war room, and hidden sanctuary: what do the humans want? Their attacks weren't random. Every planet they struck held strategic value, every system they captured served a purpose. It was clear humanity had a plan, a vision for the galaxy that no one but them understood. And that uncertainty was as terrifying as their overwhelming power. One by one, the great empires of the galaxy fell. The Zurian Dominion, known for its impenetrable shield technology, crumbled in a matter of hours when humanity unleashed weapons that bypassed their defenses entirely. The Vithran hegemony, proud rulers of an empire spanning 300 systems, surrendered without a fight after their war fleet vanished in a flash of light, leaving no trace of its existence. The humans weren't merely defeating their enemies, they were dismantling the very foundations of galactic power. For the survivors, surrender wasn't just a matter of survival, it was an act of desperation. Entire civilizations offered up their fleets, their resources, even their leadership, hoping to earn humanity's mercy. And, to the galaxy's astonishment, the humans accepted. But mercy came with a price. When the Zurian delegation formally surrendered, they were allowed to retain their homeworld. But every military facility was dismantled, their leaders replaced with human-appointed overseers. The once proud Zurian Dominion became little more than a vassal state, its people forced to rebuild under strict human supervision. The same fate awaited every civilization that bowed to humanity's rule. Independence was gone, replaced by a rigid hierarchy with Earth at its apex. And for those who resisted, there was no mercy. Among the few who dared to fight back was the Delvar Ascendancy, a militant empire that had thrived on conquest for centuries. The Delvar ruler, Supreme Commander Kael Tor, refused to bow, declaring that his people would rather face extinction than live as slaves. Humanity obliged. The assault on the Delvar capital was a spectacle the galaxy would never forget. Human ships descended from hyperspace like specters, their hulls glowing with an eerie light. The Delvar fleet, numbering in the thousands, moved to intercept. But before a single shot could be fired, humanity unleashed its most devastating weapon yet. A pulse of energy rippled through the system, and every Delvar ship went dark. Their engines failed, their weapon systems shut down, and their communications fell silent. The human fleet advanced unopposed, their ships gliding past the powerless Delvar vessels like predators stalking prey. On the surface of the Delvar homeworld, panic erupted as human forces descended from orbit. Unlike the Krells, the Delvar were prepared to fight to the last soldier. Their cities became battlegrounds, their people taking up arms in a desperate bid to repel the invaders. But the humans were relentless. Their soldiers were faster, stronger, and more disciplined. Their weapons were so advanced they seemed almost magical, tearing through Delvar defenses with ease. And their tactics were ruthless, exploiting every weakness, every moment of hesitation. By the time the battle ended, the Delvar capital was little more than a smoldering ruin. Supreme Commander Kael'tor, defiant to the end, refused to surrender. He was captured and brought before the human commander, a figure shrouded in gleaming armor that seemed to radiate authority. "You fought well," the human said, their voice calm but unyielding. "But you fought a war that ended long before it began." Kael'tor spat at their feet. "You may have won the battle, but you will never conquer our spirit." The human leaned closer, their piercing gaze locking onto Kael'tor. "Your spirit is irrelevant. The galaxy will be united, with or without your consent. This isn't about conquest. It's about survival." Kael'tor's defiance faltered. "Survival? What are you talking about?" The human didn't answer. Instead, they turned and walked away, leaving Kael'tor to ponder the meaning of those final words. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out as humanity tightened its grip. But for all their victories, the question remained unanswered. What was humanity preparing for? Whispers began to spread. Some claimed the humans were preparing for an even greater war, one against a threat so vast it defied comprehension. Others believed humanity's true enemy wasn't external, but something buried deep within their own past. Whatever the truth, one thing was certain: the galaxy had underestimated humanity. And now, as the stars themselves seemed to bow to Earth's will, the universe held its breath, waiting for the final revelation. Because humanity wasn't just fighting for domination. They were fighting for something far more important. And the galaxy was about to find out what. The galaxy had seen enough to understand that humanity was powerful. Their ships, their weapons, their tactics, all unmatched. But what no one realized, what no one could have fathomed, was that they hadn't seen everything. Not even close. For centuries, the galaxy had assumed humanity's golden age had come and gone. Their retreat into isolation was seen as an act of decline, a once great species bowing out of galactic affairs. But the truth was far more unsettling. Humanity hadn't retreated because they were weak, they had retreated because they had grown too strong. Earth wasn't a dormant world. It was a fortress. Hidden beneath its surface were secrets that defied understanding. Entire continents were hollowed out, housing vast networks of machinery and data hubs. The planet's core was stabilized by artificial constructs designed to channel unimaginable amounts of energy. And orbiting Earth, invisible to the naked eye, was the sole defense array, a series of platforms capable of wiping out entire star systems in a matter of seconds. These weren't the trappings of a declining civilization. They were the preparations of a species that had seen the brink of annihilation and vowed never to face it again. And now humanity was ready to reveal its hand. The Galactic Council, desperate to understand the humans' true intentions, sent a delegation to Earth. The representatives were escorted by human ships that dwarfed anything in their fleets, their sleek black hulls humming with an energy that seemed alive. As the delegation approached Earth, they were struck by its transformation. The once silent planet now pulsed with light, its cities shining like stars. Orbiting stations bustled with activity, and fleets of ships moved in perfect synchronicity, as if directed by a single mind. The humans had awakened, and their homeworld was a beacon of their resurgence. The delegation was brought to a massive underground facility, a chamber so vast it seemed to stretch into infinity. At its center stood a colossal machine, its surface covered in glowing symbols that shifted and changed as if alive. Human scientists and engineers moved with precision around it, their focus unbroken despite the presence of alien onlookers. The leader of the delegation, a Zurian diplomat named Elise, stepped forward. "What is this place?" she asked, her voice trembling. A human commander, clad in armor that shimmered with a faint blue light, turned to face her. "This," they said, gesturing to the machine, "is the reason we've been silent. The reason we've stayed hidden. And the reason we've returned." Elise frowned. "I don't understand." The human's gaze hardened. "Our history is full of wars, destruction, and near extinction. We learned the hard way that power without control is a path to ruin. So, we chose to rebuild, to create something greater than ourselves. Something that could ensure the survival of not just humanity, But the entire galaxy? Thelus's eyes widened. The entire galaxy? You mean? The human nodded. We are not your enemies. But we are also not your saviors. What you've witnessed so far, our ships, our weapons, our strategies, was only the surface. A fraction of what we've become. With a wave of their hand, the human activated the machine. The chamber came alive with light as holographic projections filled the air. Planets, stars, and galaxies swirled around them, forming a map of the known universe. But then, the map expanded, revealing regions of space that no one in the delegation recognized. Entire sectors teemed with ominous red markers, each one representing an incoming threat. These, the human said, pointing to the red zones, are why we woke up. The delegation stared in stunned silence. The markers weren't just isolated incidents. They were everywhere, thousands, maybe millions of them, spreading across the galaxy like a plague. What are they? Delise whispered. An ancient enemy, the human replied. One we fought long ago and barely survived. They call themselves the Harbingers. And they're coming back. The room fell silent. The human stepped closer, their voice steady but filled with a quiet intensity. We didn't isolate ourselves to disappear. We did it to prepare. To build the technology and knowledge needed to face what's coming. Everything we've done, every battle, every conquest, has been to unite the galaxy against this threat. Thelus's voice trembled. Why didn't you tell us sooner? Would you have believed us? The human asked, their gaze piercing. Would you have followed us willingly? No. You had to see what we're capable of. You had to understand that resistance is futile and unity is the only way forward. Delise couldn't argue. The evidence was undeniable. As the holograms faded, the human commander addressed the delegation one final time. You have a choice. Stand with us or stand aside. But know this, the Harbingers don't distinguish between species. To them we are all prey. If we fail to stand together, we will fall together. The delegation left Earth with a message to deliver to their governments. Humanity wasn't an enemy, they were a necessity. And as the galaxy braced for what was to come, one truth became clear. The humans weren't preparing for war. They were preparing for survival. The galaxy's greatest fight was about to begin. The warning came in silence. In the depths of uncharted space, where stars were sparse and light barely reached, the void itself seemed to stir. For centuries, astronomers had noticed anomalies in the region. Entire systems vanishing without explanation, gravitational distortions that defied physics, and bursts of energy that left no trace. These signs had been dismissed as natural phenomena, but humanity's ancient records told a different story. The Harbingers were real. The first sign of their awakening was detected by Earth's farthest outpost, a listening station on the edge of the galaxy. Designed to scan for signs of the incoming threat, it picked up an energy signature so vast, so incomprehensible, that its systems overloaded in seconds. Before its destruction, it managed to transmit one final image to Earth. A massive construct emerging from the void, its form shrouded in darkness and its size eclipsing entire planets. The Harbingers had returned. Humanity wasted no time. Within hours, fleets were mobilized. Every ship, every soldier, every weapon humanity had prepared for centuries was called into action. Their allies, still reeling from the revelation of humanity's purpose, were given a choice: stand with Earth or fall in the first wave. Most chose to stand. The Harbingers moved with terrifying precision. They didn't march or invade, they consumed. Entire star systems fell silent as their fleets passed through, their suns extinguished, their planets reduced to lifeless husks. Their ships were unlike anything the galaxy had seen, massive, biomechanical constructs that seemed to pulse with a life of their own. They absorbed energy, adapted to attacks, and unleashed weapons that bent the laws of reality. Humanity's first encounter came in the Zorith system, a choke point at the edge of galactic space. Earth's fleets, bolstered by allied ships, formed a defensive line, their commanders determined to halt the Harbingers' advance. Admiral Cade, the human commander overseeing the battle, stood on the bridge of the Aegis, humanity's flagship. Its sleek design was a testament to centuries of innovation, and its weapons were among the most advanced in the galaxy. But even as the fleet prepared for battle, Cade knew this fight would test the limits of their strength. Status report, Cade ordered, his voice calm but firm. Enemy fleet approaching, came the reply. Approximately 50 vessels. They're massive, sir. Larger than anything we've encountered. Cade nodded. Deploy the front line. Prepare the second wave for a flanking maneuver. And activate the singularity cannons. The singularity cannons were humanity's greatest weapon. devices capable of creating temporary black holes to consume entire ships. But even as they charged, the Harbingers made their move. The enemy fleet surged forward, their ships moving in eerie silence. Beams of energy shot out, cutting through the vacuum of space with devastating precision. Entire squadrons were wiped out in seconds, their shields useless against the Harbingers' attacks. But humanity didn't falter. "Fire the cannons," Cade commanded. The first black hole erupted into existence, its gravitational pull tearing a Harbinger ship apart. The fleet cheered, but the victory was short-lived. The remaining ships adapted, their forms shifting and pulsing as they adjusted to the new threat. "They're learning," Cade muttered. "They're evolving." The battle raged on, each side pushing the other to its limits. Humanity's technology gave them an edge, but the Harbingers' sheer power and adaptability were overwhelming. Allied ships fell one by one, their crews sacrificing themselves to buy time for the fleet. In the midst of the chaos, Admiral Cade made a decision. "Activate Project Ascension," he ordered. The bridge fell silent. Everyone knew what Project Ascension was. A last-resort weapon designed to unleash a surge of energy capable of wiping out everything in its vicinity, friend and foe alike. It wasn't just a weapon, it was a statement. "Sir," one officer began, "if we activate it—" "I know the risks," Cade interrupted. "But if we don't stop them here, there won't be anything left to protect." The order was given. As the Harbingers closed in, the Aegis began to glow, its core channeling the full power of Earth's energy reserves. The light was blinding, a beacon that could be seen across the system. "May humanity endure," Cade said quietly, his eyes fixed on the enemy fleet. The energy pulse erupted outward, a tidal wave of destruction that consumed the Harbinger's ships in an instant. The battlefield fell silent, the void once again empty. But as the light faded, one truth became clear. This was only the beginning. The galaxy held its breath. The Harbingers had suffered their first defeat, but their true strength had yet to arrive. Reports flooded in from every corner of the galaxy. Massive fleets emerging from hyperspace, consuming entire systems and leaving nothing behind. The energy pulse from Project Ascension had bought the galaxy time, but time was running out. Humanity, along with its reluctant allies, prepared for the final confrontation. On Earth, the unified council of alien leaders gathered for the first time in human history, their fear tempered by a growing respect for humanity's leadership. Admiral Cade, now a symbol of Earth's resilience, stood at the center of the chamber, his presence commanding the room. "This isn't just a war," Cade began, his voice steady. "It's survival. The Harbingers don't negotiate. They don't leave anything behind. If we fail here, there won't be anyone left to remember our existence." Delise, the Zurian ambassador, rose from her seat. "We've seen what humanity can do. But can you lead us against an enemy like this? Can you unify a galaxy that has been at war with itself for centuries?" Cade met her gaze. "We don't have a choice. Humanity has spent millennia preparing for this moment. But we can't do it alone. The galaxy must stand together or we'll all fall apart." The chamber fell silent. Then one by one the leaders of the galactic powers pledged their fleets, their soldiers and their resources to humanity's command. For the first time in history the galaxy was united. The final battle would take place in the Calthus Expanse, a vast, uncharted region of space where the Harbinger's main fleet was converging. Humanity led the charge, deploying every ship, weapon and strategy they had developed over centuries. Their allies followed, their combined forces forming the largest fleet the galaxy had ever seen. As the fleets approached the expanse, the Harbingers revealed their true form. The void itself seemed to writhe as their ships emerged, massive constructs that dwarfed even the largest human vessels. They moved like living creatures, their surfaces shifting and pulsing with a dark energy that defied understanding. At their center was the Harbinger Prime, a gargantuan structure that radiated power, a living nexus of their hive mind. Admiral Cade stood on the bridge of the Aegis, his gaze fixed on the display. "All ships, hold formation. We strike as one." The first wave of Harbinger ships surged forward, their energy beams slicing through the void. Humanity's fleets responded in kind, unleashing a torrent of firepower. The battle was chaos, ships clashing in every direction, explosions lighting up the darkness. But the Harbingers were relentless. For every ship destroyed, two more seemed to take its place. They adapted to every strategy, countering humanity's weapons with terrifying efficiency. The Allied fleets began to falter, their numbers dwindling as the Harbingers pressed their advance. Then humanity revealed its final weapon. From Earth, a signal was transmitted to the Soul Defense Array. Hidden in orbit around the sun, the array had been humanity's greatest secret, a network of stations capable of harnessing the sun's energy to unleash a solar pulse. As the signal was received, the array activated, its panels aligning to focus the sun's energy into a single, devastating beam. The beam tore through space, slicing through the Harbinger fleet with unrelenting precision. Entire sections of their forces disintegrated, their adaptations unable to withstand the sheer power of the array. But the Harbinger Prime remained. It advanced through the chaos, its massive form absorbing the energy around it. The Allied fleets focused all their firepower on the Prime, but it was too strong, too vast. Humanity's greatest weapon had weakened it, but not enough to stop it. Cade knew there was only one option left. All ships fall back, he ordered. The Aegis will finish this. His crew stared at him in shock. Admiral, you can't. That's an order, Cade said firmly. The Aegis was designed for this. It's our only chance. As the Allied fleets retreated, the Aegis charged forward, its engines burning bright. Inside the ship, its core began to overload, channeling all its energy into a single final attack. Cade stood at the command console, his resolve unshaken. For Earth. For the galaxy, he said quietly. The Aegis collided with the Harbinger Prime, the resulting explosion brighter than a supernova. The shockwave rippled across the battlefield, destroying the remaining Harbinger ships and leaving the void silent once more.